You retired from professional footy at the end of 2013. You worked in the mines for a bit, and then you started a new show called The Locker Room, which is a vodcast online. What inspired you to take on this project?
So I've always wanted to have a show. Actually, like as far back, I mean, you can ask my ex-girlfriends, they'd tell you the same thing. Like I wanted a show, but it was always a matter of, obviously people have dreams, but you also have to have practical dreams. So you can't just go, oh, I want to be like Joe Rogan. Well, hang on a minute, you need a pathway to get there, and also you need a reason why you can be that. And so my issue was, I want to start a show, but if I start a show that, let's say it's an MMA show, I've got to compete against everyone in the world that does MMA. So, or if I want to do a show, it's just interesting stories, I've got to compete against every single person in the world that does interesting stories. And I'm nowhere near their level. Like they've got, you find most comedians are great podcast hosts because they can literally stand in a mic and make everyone laugh whilst also hosting a podcast. So like that's just not reality. I don't have that yet. But what my point of difference is I'm an ex-rugby league player. I can kind of talk. I've still got plenty of things that I need to improve on, but I can kind of talk. I'm genuinely interested in these guys' stories and people's stories in general, and it hasn't been done before. I don't have any competing people or market that competes with me. So there's no bar that is set for me to reach. I'm setting the bar. That's not an arrogant thing to say. It's a rational thing to say. So there's no one sitting there going, I'm watching Denan Kemp's show, but this show here that is the exact same does it much better production value. It's more, better questions. Doesn't say and as much. Better guess. So there's no comparison. So I've got a real lenient time where I can grow the show naturally and organically without having to worry about competition. And yeah, so that was kind of like, okay, this is my point of difference. This is where I can enter in the market. Maybe eventually I can move closer to an Australian version of doing, a Joe Rogan experience. But that's way down the track. At the moment, I like, interviewing NRL players and getting their story and just being in a casual environment. There's no other thing like that. So it's, as a fan, you have to go to that to get that. To the locker room to get that. So yeah, that was kind of the thought process behind starting the locker room and what I wanted to do, kind of thing.
Okay, so I'll just run through the numbers. Your show has over 27,000 likes on Facebook. You have 1,380 subscribers on YouTube with over 111,000 views. When the numbers started to grow, it must have been very overwhelming for you, was it?
Yeah, definitely. So originally, there's a book called 1,000 True Fans, and so the idea behind that is, in today's society, in today's technology, you don't need 1 million people to love what you do to make a living out of it. You just need 1,000, and this has been mathematically and study proven, nothing like that. Most one-person ventures only need 1,000 true fans to make a living of it. So 1,000 true fans means they'll watch anything you put up, they'll share anything, they'll like it, they'll donate $2 or whatever. And so the original idea was, look, I've got this niche idea, I'm going to give it 2 years. I was still working in the mines, I was working at a coal terminal at Port Kembla. I was like, look, I'll give this 2 years. I was working like probably 60 hours a week there. After work, I'd pack everything up, shower because I'd be covered in coal, drive up to Sydney, interview the guests, set everything up, pack everything down, do it all again. Weekends would be done with editing. So obviously there were really hard times, and financially and emotionally, mentally, all that kind of stuff. But they were hard. They were hard. Technically they were hard, but emotionally they weren't hard because I had a goal here, and I knew that this was my only way out, and I would genuinely rather die than continue doing what I was doing. And I know people think that's hectic, but I don't care. It's just the way it is. If you want to live your life to the fullest, and that's what I want to do. I want to live my life to the fullest, and I want to, I want to live a life. I don't want to be a cog in a wheel, and that's a lot of people don't realise that we have that chance now with technology. And so yeah, I thought there was only going to be a niche crowd that was going to really love it, be like, yeah, we love this, and then originally I used to release just the full episode. And I was like, I want to make this more accessible, so I broke it up into snippets. And before people know it, they might watch 5 minutes Monday, 5 minutes Tuesday, 3 minutes, whatever. By Friday, they watch 20 minutes and they didn't realise that. Whereas if you stuck a 40-minute thing in front of them, they'd be like, okay, I'll watch it later. Then they never get back to it. So obviously the 50-minute people that love that long form, that's growing. But the biggest growth is the snippets. For example, last week I think would have been about 200,000 total views. don't get me wrong, so the Footy Show would have 195,000 viewers. I think it was recently they had that amount of unique viewers, but for a single project to be getting near that amount of viewers in total, obviously unique viewers would be down about 100,000 maybe or something like that, or 70,000. It's grown just so much quicker than I thought it would grow. So much quicker.
During your career, it's clear to me that the media was certainly different from when you were playing to now. Can you put it down to something?
Well, a lot of players have more control over their message and their image. So, Jarryd Hayne, when he makes an announcement, he puts up on his social media, these are the reasons why I did it. That didn't exist before, so the media controlled the image of the player. Now that is slowly changing where the player controls his image. So for example, one of the journalists tweeted, I wish Jarryd Hayne would just admit that he went to the Gold Coast Titans for the money. Jarryd Hayne tweets back to him, well, if that was the case, I'd be in Sydney right now. And so these are things, he has control of his image now. He can control and really talk to the fans and say, this is what I really am about. And the media, they still control it to some degree, but slowly but surely, players are taking more ownership. Like, for example, there's a thing called Players Tribune in America, and it's run by Derek Jeter. And players just directly put their own articles onto it. It's something that I'd love to start, but that's, when I get more resources, I'll do that. But yeah, that's the difference, is players being able to have direct contact with the fans and also control their image and just be real clear with the fans about what's actually going on.
The players enjoy that?
I don't know. It's still a changeover. So you'll find the young guys, they love it. They embrace it. They love the social media. It's not a taboo thing to make a little video about talking about this or talking about that. Whereas the older boys, it's like, oh man, don't do that. There's all that kind of stuff. It's just generational changes. I think you'll find less footy players getting in trouble because this is the younger generation, because they're used to having a camera in their face. So they're going to be used to being constantly in the public eye. So they've kind of sacrificed a bit of their privacy, but they also get a lot more back. They have a personal brand that is much more valuable. And so I think you'll find less stuff-ups off the field because players are more used to video cameras, whereas you find the older generation struggle with it because they're not used to it. They don't have it mentally ingrained in their head. There is a camera everywhere. So yeah, I think the younger generation, more characters will eventually emerge just due to the fact of numbers, the fact that more players are going to be directly interacting with the fans.